It begins with the courage to look beyond our own world and see the hearts beating around us. When you show people that they matter, something magical happens. They open their doors, their trust, and their goodwill. Listening with full attention is one of the greatest gifts you can offer to another human being, because in a world full of noise, distraction, and constant rush, giving someone your focus becomes a rare act of love and respect. When you listen fully, you create a safe space where the other person feels seen, valued, and understood, and this simple act can transform relationships, reduce conflicts, and build trust without any extra effort. Listening is not just keeping quiet while someone speaks. It is the art of being present, the ability to silence your inner dialogue, your urge to respond, your need to defend yourself, and instead allow your mind and heart to open to the person in front of you. When you listen with attention, your body language softens, your eyes connect, your tone becomes gentle, and your energy tells the other person, you matter, your voice matters, your feelings matter, and this alone can change the entire direction of a conversation. People are not always searching for solutions. Sometimes they are just searching for someone who hears them without interruption, without judgment, without turning the conversation back to themselves. Listening means letting go of the need to win, the need to look smart, the need to reply instantly, and embracing the quiet confidence of presence, because presence is more powerful than words. It means noticing the small things, the hesitation in their voice, the sigh between sentences, the emotion behind the words they don't say, because often the truth hides in the spaces between their lines. When you give someone that level of attention, they don't just feel heard, they feel honored, and when people feel honored, they open their hearts naturally. Appreciating people honestly is one of the most powerful ways to build meaningful connections, because every human being, no matter how strong or confident they appear, carries an inner need to feel valued, seen, and acknowledged. Honest appreciation is different from flattery. It is not about forcing compliments or saying something you don't really feel. It is about recognizing the real efforts, qualities, and intentions of others and giving them the respect they deserve. When you appreciate someone with sincerity, your words touch their heart, not just their ears, and that creates a lasting impact. People remember genuine appreciation because it makes them feel recognized for who they are, not for who they pretend to be. When you acknowledge someone's kindness, their consistency, their patience, or their hard work, you give them strength, motivation, and a sense of worth that stays with them far longer than you realize. Appreciation becomes a way of telling someone, I see you, I value you, and your presence makes a difference. And these words can sometimes heal wounds you never even knew existed. Honest appreciation also changes the way people behave with you. When someone feels valued, they naturally feel more open, more trusting, and more willing to support you. Appreciation creates a cycle where kindness grows into more kindness. When you appreciate someone's effort, they feel encouraged to keep doing good. When you appreciate their honesty, they become more comfortable sharing with you. When you appreciate their presence, they feel connected to you. It doesn't take grand gestures or dramatic expressions. Sometimes a single sincere line can uplift a person more than anything else. Humans bloom where they feel appreciated and wilt where they feel ignored. Appreciation becomes a kind of emotional nourishment that strengthens relationships without force or expectation. When people know that you see the good in them, they naturally gravitate toward you because you become a source of comfort, not judgment. Appreciating honestly also trains your own mind to look for the positive instead of getting stuck in negativity. It shifts your focus from flaws to strengths, from weaknesses to possibilities. You begin to notice the effort people put into small things, the dedication they bring to their work, the courage they show in difficult moments, the loyalty they offer even when unspoken. This perspective helps you grow emotionally because it teaches you humility and gratitude. It reminds you that everyone around you, from friends to family to colleagues, is trying their best in their own way. This awareness softens your heart and brings balance to your judgment. It helps you see that people are more than their mistakes, more than their moods, and more than the moments when they fall short. Honest appreciation is like holding a mirror that reflects the best in others, helping them see qualities they might have forgotten about themselves. When you practice this kind of appreciation, your relationships become deeper and healthier because people feel safe being themselves around you. They don't feel the need to impress you or pretend. They feel comfortable because your appreciation is real, not manipulative. It also reduces conflict because when someone feels valued, they are less defensive, less reactive, and more willing to understand your perspective. Appreciation becomes a foundation of respect, and respect becomes the doorway to influence. People follow those who uplift them, not those who belittle them. They listen to those who make them feel capable, not those who make them feel small. And the simplest way to uplift someone is to appreciate them honestly, with a heart that sees their worth and a mind that recognizes their effort, no matter how small it may seem to the world. Smiling often and warmly is one of the simplest yet most powerful ways to create connection, because a genuine smile speaks a language that every heart understands. A smile doesn't need translation, it doesn't require preparation, and it doesn't demand effort, yet it has the power to change the energy of a moment instantly. When you smile at someone, you soften the environment around you. You signal safety, comfort, and openness without using a single word. People naturally relax around those who smile sincerely, because a warm smile tells them that you are not here to judge them, compete with them, or overwhelm them. You are here with kindness, with gentleness, and with a welcoming presence that makes them feel at ease. In a world where so many faces are tired, stressed, or distracted, even a small smile becomes a gift that people don't forget easily. A warm smile also changes you. It influences your own mood, your own mindset, and your own emotional atmosphere. When you smile, even during difficult moments, your body responds by releasing a sense of ease and grounding. It reminds you that you have the ability to choose your energy regardless of what's happening around you. It is not about pretending that everything is perfect. It is about refusing to let hardship harden your face and your heart. Smiling is a sign of inner strength, because only those who are strong from within can stay soft on the outside. When you smile from authenticity, you carry a presence that feels light instead of heavy, warm instead of cold, open instead of distant. People naturally gravitate towards those who carry this kind of energy, because it makes them feel hopeful and safe. A genuine smile also influences the way people perceive you. Humans trust those who seem approachable. They open up to those who create emotional warmth. They respond better to those who show friendliness through their expressions. A smile at the beginning of a conversation can set the tone for trust. A smile during a disagreement can lower the intensity. A smile during an introduction can build immediate comfort. It becomes a bridge, a soft invitation, and a silent promise that the interaction will be gentle. When someone meets you and sees a genuine smile, they immediately sense that you come with calmness rather than chaos, with kindness rather than pressure. That first impression often shapes everything that follows. Smiling also makes your presence memorable. People may forget your words, but they rarely forget how they felt around you, and a warm smile makes them feel accepted, welcomed, and respected. It tells them that you see them as human, not as an obstacle or a task. Many times, people carry silent struggles, invisible burdens, or private battles. They may not talk about them, but they feel them deeply. When they encounter a warm smile from someone, it becomes a moment of relief, a moment where the world feels a little less harsh and a little more gentle. You never know what someone is going through, and sometimes your smile is the only brightness they see that day. That single moment can shift their mood, soften their stress, or remind them that there is still kindness around them. Smiling warmly also builds influence naturally. People tend to follow those who make them feel good, not those who make them feel tense. They listen more openly, respond more positively, and cooperate more willingly with someone whose presence carries friendliness. A smile is one of the easiest ways to create this positive influence. It requires no planning, no cost, no special skill. It just requires intention and sincerity. When your smile is real, it carries warmth. When your warmth is felt, it creates trust. And when trust is present, influence becomes effortless, because people are more willing to connect with you, work with you, and be inspired by you. Avoiding criticism and judgment is one of the most powerful ways to build harmony with others, because the moment you stop looking for faults, you start seeing people as human beings with their own stories, fears, and struggles. Criticism may feel like honesty, but most of the time it only creates distance, defensiveness, and hurt. When people feel judged, they close their heart, they shut their mind, and they stop listening. But when they feel understood, they open up with trust, honesty, and warmth. Avoiding criticism does not mean you ignore problems or pretend everything is perfect. It simply means you choose compassion over harshness, understanding over blame, and patience over reaction. When someone makes a mistake, reacting with criticism often makes the situation worse, because they become focused on defending themselves rather than learning. But when you respond with calmness and curiosity, they become more willing to reflect, improve, and grow. Your tone becomes a safe bridge instead of a wall, and that shift changes everything. When you avoid judgment, you give yourself the chance to understand the deeper truth behind someone's behavior. People rarely act out of pure intention. Their actions are shaped by childhood experiences, hidden fears, confusing emotions, and personal limitations. A person who speaks loudly may be masking insecurity. A person who withdraws may be carrying silent pain. A person who gets angry quickly may be dealing with something unrelated to you. When you judge them at first sight, you miss the opportunity to understand the real story. But when you pause and choose empathy, you start seeing beyond the surface. You notice the emotion behind the reaction, the struggle behind the mistake, the reason behind the silence. This awareness makes you calmer, wiser, and more grounded, because you no longer take their behavior personally. You learn to respond instead of react, and that ability creates emotional strength within you. Avoiding criticism also helps you build relationships that feel safe, respectful, and genuine. When people know you are not searching for their flaws, they feel comfortable being themselves around you. They don't feel the pressure to be perfect or impress you. Instead, they interact with honesty and sincerity. This kind of environment strengthens bonds and makes connections deeper, because authenticity grows where judgment ends. People begin to trust your presence, your words, and your intentions. They talk to you more openly, share their thoughts more freely, and listen to your advice more seriously. Influence does not come from pointing out mistakes. It comes from making someone feel respected enough to want to improve. And that kind of influence only comes when you communicate without criticism. Choosing not to criticize also transforms your inner world. It teaches you emotional maturity, patience, and self-control. It forces you to look at situations with a broader perspective instead of reacting instantly. You begin to realize that criticizing others often comes from your own frustration, stress, or ego. By learning to avoid criticism, you learn to manage yourself better. You become more peaceful, more understanding, and more centered. This calmness reflects in your conversations, your decisions, and your behavior. People can feel the difference. They see that you are someone who brings peace instead of pressure, someone who listens instead of attacking, someone who understands instead of assuming. This quality makes your presence comforting, and comforting people naturally become influential people. When you become the person who avoids criticism and judgment, you give others the freedom to grow, and you give yourself the freedom to stay calm, strong, and emotionally balanced. Respecting opinions even when you disagree is a skill that defines emotional maturity, because it shows that you value the person more than the argument, and you care about understanding more than winning. Every individual carries their own experiences, beliefs, values, and emotions, and these shape the way they think, speak, and respond. When you respect someone's opinion, you are not agreeing with them, you are simply acknowledging that their perspective has meaning in their world. This simple gesture builds trust, lowers defensiveness, and makes conversations smoother and healthier. Most conflicts arise not from differences, but from the need to prove who is right. When you let go of that need, communication becomes peaceful instead of competitive. You create an atmosphere where both sides feel safe enough to express themselves without fear of being attacked or dismissed. Respecting opinions also teaches you the importance of listening before reacting. Many people listen just to reply, not to understand, and this creates emotional distance. When you truly listen to someone's viewpoint, you learn more about their background, their fears, and the experiences that shaped their mindset. You may not agree with them, but you begin to see the reason behind how they think. This kind of understanding softens your response. Instead of reacting with frustration, you respond with patience. Instead of shutting them down, you ask questions that show you care about their thought process. This shift in attitude turns conversations into opportunities for connection instead of battles for dominance. It also shows the other person that you value them as a human being, not just as a voice in an argument. When you respect differing views, you strengthen your own mind as well. You learn how to stay calm in disagreements, how to think logically instead of emotionally, and how to protect your peace without attacking others. You realize that your opinion is not universal truth. It is just one way of looking at life. Nobody grows by surrounding themselves with clones who think the same way. Growth happens when you are exposed to different ideas, when your thoughts are challenged, and when you learn to handle discomfort with grace. By respecting opinions, you give yourself the chance to grow intellectually and emotionally. You begin to see that disagreement does not equal disrespect, and conflict does not have to turn into chaos. This mindset allows you to navigate relationships, work environments, and social interactions with maturity and ease. Respecting opinions even in disagreement also increases your influence. People naturally trust and follow those who make them feel heard and valued. When someone realizes that you won't mock their thoughts or attack their beliefs, they open up more freely. They begin to listen to you more seriously because they know you won't force your views on them. Influence does not come from shouting the loudest or proving others wrong. It comes from showing humility, compassion, and understanding. When you communicate with respect, people become more willing to consider your perspective, even if it's different from theirs. They admire the way you handle differences with calmness and dignity, and that admiration creates lasting influence. This approach makes you emotionally stronger, socially wiser, and mentally balanced, because you become someone who can stand firm in their beliefs without tearing others down. Respecting opinions, especially during disagreements, builds a foundation of respect in every relationship. It protects your peace, deepens connections, and creates a healthy space for communication. It shows that you choose unity over ego and understanding over anger, and this choice makes you someone people trust, admire, and willingly listen to. Making people feel important is one of the most beautiful ways to build strong connections, because every human heart carries a quiet desire to feel valued, noticed, and respected. When you make someone feel important, you are not exaggerating their qualities or pretending to admire them. You are simply giving them the dignity that every person deserves. Many people go through life feeling unseen, unheard, or overlooked. and a single moment of genuine attention can make them feel appreciated in ways they silently crave. When you greet someone with warmth, listen without rushing, acknowledge their effort, or speak to them with kindness, you send a powerful message that their presence has meaning. You remind them that they matter. This feeling creates an emotional bond that cannot be forced or faked, because people never forget those who make them feel valued. Making someone feel important also requires that you put your ego aside. When your ego is active, you focus on yourself, your opinions, your achievements, your needs. But when you shift your attention to others, you begin to notice their talents, their struggles, their dreams, and their strengths. You appreciate what they bring into a conversation or a relationship. This shift makes your interactions softer, more meaningful, and more impactful. When people feel that you see their worth, they naturally feel lighter around you. They open up without fear, they communicate without tension, and they trust you with their thoughts because your presence doesn't make them feel small or inferior. Instead, you become the person who lifts their confidence and inspires them to see the good within themselves. Another powerful way to make people feel important is by acknowledging the small things they do. Many times, people give their best quietly, helping, supporting, working, or showing loyalty without asking for praise. When you recognize these silent efforts, you make them feel valued in a world that often takes them for granted. A simple "I appreciate what you did" or "your effort made a difference" can touch someone far more deeply than you realize. These moments of acknowledgement create a sense of belonging and connection. They turn ordinary interactions into meaningful memories. They show the other person that their presence matters, their choices matter, and their contribution matters. Making people feel important also transforms the way they behave with you. When someone feels valued, they naturally want to reciprocate with kindness, loyalty, and sincerity. They cooperate more willingly, communicate more openly, and support you without hesitation. You don't need to demand anything from them because the respect you give becomes the respect you receive. Influence grows naturally in this environment. People follow those who uplift them, not those who diminish them. When you make someone feel important, they remember you as someone who sees their worth. And that memory creates trust that strengthens relationships in both personal and professional life. This mindset also changes you internally. When you intentionally focus on making others feel important, you develop empathy, patience, and emotional intelligence. You become more aware of the power your words and actions carry. You begin to understand that you can brighten someone's day with something as simple as a kind gesture or a few sincere words. You start to feel more gratitude for the people around you, and this gratitude reflects in your tone, your body language, and your presence. Your relationships become more peaceful, deeper, and more meaningful because they are built on mutual respect, not competition. You become someone who spreads comfort, not insecurity, someone who builds confidence, not doubt, someone who heals hearts, not hurts them. Making people feel important is not about saying big things or performing grand acts. It is about small, consistent actions that show sincerity, listening carefully, speaking gently, appreciating honestly, and treating every person with dignity. These actions create a powerful emotional impact, turning simple conversations into lasting connections and ordinary interactions into moments that people carry in their hearts. Speaking with kindness, not ego, is one of the most powerful ways to shape how people feel around you, because your words carry energy that can either heal or harm, lift or break, connect or divide. When you choose kindness in your speech, you choose a path that strengthens relationships, creates trust, and builds respect without force. Kindness in words is not weakness, and it is not about being overly sweet or pretending to be soft. It is about speaking from a place of calmness, understanding, and clarity rather than reacting from pride or the need to dominate. Ego speaks to overpower, but kindness speaks to connect. Ego aims to win the argument, but kindness aims to keep the relationship. Ego seeks validation, but kindness seeks understanding. This difference shapes the entire emotional atmosphere of any interaction. Speaking kindly requires self-control because ego often wants to react immediately. Ego wants to prove a point, defend itself, or show superiority. But when you pause before speaking, you give yourself the chance to choose your words with intention instead of impulse. This pause is powerful. It creates space for wisdom to replace anger, for empathy to replace irritation, and for clarity to replace confusion. When you speak from this place, your words become gentle but strong, soft but meaningful. People don't feel attacked, pressured, or judged. They feel respected. This respect makes them more open, more honest, and more willing to understand your perspective. Kindness does not silence your truth. It simply shapes it in a way that can be heard without causing unnecessary harm. Kindness in speech also helps you protect your own peace. Harsh words, even when justified, often leave behind guilt, regret, or emotional heaviness. Ego-driven conversations drain your energy, make you tense, and damage connections that could have been protected with a little patience. But when you choose kindness, you preserve your calmness. You walk away from conversations feeling centered rather than exhausted. You don't carry emotional wounds or regrets. You feel lighter because you spoke from your higher self, not your reactive self. This emotional strength becomes part of your identity, and people can sense it in your tone, your body language, and your presence. Speaking kindly also influences how people remember you. Words linger long after they are spoken. People may forget your achievements, your appearance, or your arguments, but they rarely forget how your words made them feel. If your words offer comfort, they remember you with warmth. If your words offer support, they remember you with gratitude. If your words offer stability during a stressful moment, they remember you with trust. Influence is built on these emotional memories, not on loud speeches or sharp replies. When you consistently choose kindness over ego, people start seeing you as someone balanced, trustworthy, and emotionally mature. They listen to you more willingly because your words feel safe. They respect you more deeply because your tone carries grace. Choosing kindness in speech also teaches you humility. It reminds you that you don't lose anything by being gentle, but you gain everything by being respectful. It teaches you that you can stand firm without being rude, express disagreement without being hurtful, and share your truth without shouting. It shows you that the real strength of communication lies in emotional intelligence, not volume. You become someone who can handle intense conversations without losing composure. Someone who can calm others instead of triggering them. Someone who can guide discussions rather than escalate them. This ability makes you not only influential but also admired, because emotional maturity is rare and instantly recognizable. Speaking with kindness builds bridges in a world full of walls. It softens hearts that have been hardened by life. It creates space for healing where there was misunderstanding. It invites connection where there was distance. And it transforms your relationships, your communication, and your inner world, simply because you chose to speak from kindness instead of ego. Being genuinely interested in others is one of the most powerful ways to build real influence, because people can immediately feel the difference between attention that is forced and attention that comes from the heart. When you show true interest, you are telling someone that their thoughts, feelings, and experiences matter to you. In a world where most people are waiting for their turn to speak, genuine interest becomes a rare and precious gift. It turns ordinary conversations into meaningful connections and transforms strangers into friends. This kind of interest doesn't require grand gestures. It requires presence. It requires